Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. Today I'll just be making a cake with a twist. I have this boxed cake. It's not gonna be from scratch. I don't have time for that. I just felt the cake and I'm gonna be using this boxed mix. And I think I'm gonna either dye the cake batter or I'm gonna dye the frosting, if I even decide to do frosting. So I have to make my mind up soon. But here we have oil. It's supposed to be vegetable oil based on what this says. And I don't really want to mess it up, but I don't use vegetable oil, so I'm going to be using olive oil, which olives are basically vegetables, I'd say. And if it's not, I don't care. I have the box of Pillsbury yellow cake. I have non-stick spray, but I also have parchment paper somewhere up here if I want to actually use that instead. I have 3 eggs, just like what this says here. I have water in my pipe, so I'll get that later. I have some food dye, food coloring, the associated frosting, and I have like a piping bag with some pipe tips. And over here, I have the cake pans that I am going to use. This is my mixing bowl, and I got this for like 20 bucks probably on Amazon, so I'm gonna try that out today. It comes with, you know, different tips, but it didn't come with a bowl, so maybe I should return it and get a bowl. So I don't have to use my actual, you know, standalone bowls. If you guys want to see more, subscribe, like, comment, stick around, and you'll see it right now. So first things first, we're gonna use the PAM, or basically the non-stick cooking spray, and we're gonna spray that just like that. The next, I'm gonna lightly dust the bottom of the floor of the baking tin with some flour. This should be enough, and I'll get more if I need. So what I usually do, I'm gonna rest that right there. Just do this, get it around, knock it around like that, and then you knock out the excess once you're done. But I make sure that it's evenly covered so that it doesn't stick. Before I forget, I'm also gonna preheat the oven to 350. So it should be doing that right now. Next, I'm gonna grab my mixing bowl and I'm gonna grab the cake mix. I'm gonna open that up and I'm going to combine the ingredients, the cake mix, the eggs, the oil, and the water into the mixing bowl. So after combining your ingredients in the mixing bowl, you can go ahead and start to blend them together or mix them together. I actually bought this handheld mixer, so I'm gonna actually go ahead and use that. If you have a handheld whisk, that could also be used. And I'm gonna go ahead and do this for about 2 minutes on medium speed. Clearly, I didn't really use medium speed the whole time. I actually just experimented with the use of this mixer. But yeah, it still turned out great in the end. So just continue watching and use whatever is comfortable for you. Alright, so after I've done this, I'm going to add food coloring. So I decided to go with this fall theme, and I thought, okay, maybe I could mix the red and the yellow and come up with some sort of orange looking cake. So I added the red first because that makes more sense, seeing that the cake is already yellow. And I was hoping that maybe just adding the red would turn it orange naturally, but it didn't really give me all of that pigment that I really needed. But I went ahead and I mixed this in, and you'll see the red that it turned into, or the pinkish color that it turned into. And then I ended up adding a few more drops of the yellow food coloring, which it didn't seem yellow in the bottle, but it turned it orange. So that was the aim, and that it worked. So as you can see here, I changed it from yellow to orange, and the stove has gotten to, or the oven rather, has gotten to 350 degrees. So I'm gonna pour this in, and then we're gonna bake that. So now we're gonna put this in the oven. As you can see here, it's at 350. Don't worry, that's my peas getting ready for dinner. So I'm gonna open the oven. I'm gonna throw, ooh, that's hot. I'm gonna throw it in here at the top, why not? And it's gonna go in there for, I don't know, maybe 35 minutes. Because it's in a round pan, so usually in round pans it lasts up to like 35 minutes. I'm gonna do that. And we're gonna come back and see how that looks. And if I want to add frosting, I'll let you guys know. If that's where I'll end the video. If not, then I'll go ahead and do the frosting. Alright guys, so this is done. And we're gonna, oh, we're gonna take it out. Before I take it all the way out, it looks like a little water in the middle. I'm gonna stab it with a knife just to see what we're working with. Yeah, I don't think it's that done. I'm gonna leave it in for a couple more minutes, maybe 5 more minutes, just to see if it will firm up a little in the top there. So I'm gonna put this back on 350, and then set the timer about 5 minutes.
A few moments later.
So again, we're here. We're ending it. Let's see if it maybe got a little better. Hopefully it's not too dry or anything. And then let's test it. Clean knife. That's better. So it's done. So I'm gonna take it out and let it cool before we do anything else to it. Leave it right there to cool. So the cake got done cooling, y'all, and I decided to go ahead and frost it. So I took it out of its shackles of a baking tin and I placed it on this here makeshift cake tray situation that I had. Now, I don't know who told me that I was some sort of baker, like I was some sort of world-class pastry chef or baker, but I decided, let's slice this bad boy in two and then slap some frosting in between the slices and then go ahead and pipe the top, because clearly I don't know that I'm just an engineer. Clearly I misread my title, and clearly I just decided to switch over at last minute, but I did it anyway. And it didn't come out that terribly. So I used the frosting as is for this sectional slice, I'm gonna go ahead and say. I use it in its plain form, vanilla, and then I dyed it afterwards to do the actual top of the cake. After doing that portion, I went ahead and made the piping frosting. I used the remainder of, or most of the remainder of the frosting that was in the container, and I added some cornstarch to it to kind of make it a little fluffier, because I didn't have powdered sugar, and I figured cornstarch is used to thicken things, so maybe cornstarch would thicken this up so it would be easier to pipe. I also added the dye, the coloring at this point. I ended up doing orange again. I'm almost sure it's a different type of orange, but it translates differently because they're different materials. So the batter was different from the frosting, so it's gonna look different. And I guess the cake kind of had a little brown crust on it going on. And I whisked it for a while so as to aerate the mixture, and that way it would be much fluffier when you're putting it on the cake. So I don't know, somewhere along the lines I lost some footage, but I basically put the icing into a piping bag and I chose a tip that I wanted. I didn't know what was going to be yielded from these tip designs. So I was just doing something, as you can see. I am cracking up because what am I really doing? But it's getting the job done. And I haven't done this in a long time. And it looks okay to me. Like, I'm the one eating it, not y'all. But you can make it how you want it to look. And just enjoy just enjoy what you're gonna get from this point on, honestly. I'll have you guys know that that is supposed to be a pumpkin. I did not use any green in the making of this frosting, so I wasn't able to put a stem on it or anything, but it is a pumpkin, and whether you like it or not, I'm gonna continue calling it a pumpkin. But yeah, I switched out the pipe tips just to see what else was available in terms of design. Yeah, no difference from what you're seeing. Also, I ran out of icing, but it still turned out okay for me. And just like that, we've got to the end of the video. Thanks, as the cake says. It looks terrible, but this is my first time piping in years, and I didn't have any powdered sugar, so that the piping was better. But yeah, thanks so much for watching, and I hope you had fun watching this and laughing at my terrible design of a cake. Bye guys.